Turn it up. You're listening to Live and Loud with the Lord, Nelson, that is.
I tell you run! Your best is not enough. Your milk is red. Your best is not enough. Your work is red. Your best is not enough. Your milk is red. Run! You're better run! You're better run! You're better run!
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, you know who it is. It is yours truly, the Lord Nelson, that is, from the podcast Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS network. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let me forget, we're Five Royals Entertainment. Yes, that's my little company. That's what we do. But hey, we've got a very special guest. You know, some of the can I say up and coming, stars of the music scene, soon to be bigger than life. I believe it to be. I listened to the music and I enjoyed the music. And we have the person that's representing them today. Before I get into his name, I'm going to read off a little something about him. And like I like to do, to big up these guys. And there's no gals in the band, are there? No. I just think
there is not.
Guys, so I like to big them up. So I'm going to read off a little something if he doesn't mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are once again blessed to have another emerging band ready to take their rightful place amongst the stars. These young go-getters have a mainstream melodic sound dipped in hardcore at just the right moment of the songs. Their stage show is full of energy and complements the amazing tension and release in their music. From guitars to drums to vocals, this collective of musicians continues to prepare themselves to take that next step to reach their ultimate goals of success. So without further ado, we welcome to the Live and Loud with the Lord podcast, Justin from Unbroken. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, man.
No doubt about it, man. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. So like I like to ask everybody the first two questions. Where are you from, young man?
I am from Wausau, Wisconsin.
Wausau, is that how you say it? Wausau?
Yeah, it's Wausau.
Okay,
and that's
Wausau.
actually smack dab in the middle of Wisconsin. So.
Okay. All right, so what's the best thing about being from there?
Well, right now, especially with us, with where we're at with our music career, it actually, for us, we've learned that living where we're living, our music scene and our local scene isn't, it used to be a lot bigger than what it is
right
now, but like, we're actually kind of okay with where we live, because if we want to go to Eau Claire or if we want to go to the Twin Cities, that's like 2.5 hours to the west. If we want to go to Green Bay, that's an hour and a half to the right. If we want to go to Janesville, that's almost 2.5 hours south. Madison, 2 hours south. So we kind of realistically, like if let's say, for example, we lived in Janesville and we got asked to play a show in Eau Claire, that's like a 3+ hour drive. So it's like, that's kind of the best part about where we're from is we can go everywhere and it's not too much of a hassle for us.
So you're kind of right in the center of everything to get to everything.
Oh yeah.
No, definitely. That is love. That is love. So, of course, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Justin from Unbroken. So my question to you right now is, what part of the puzzle of the band do you fit in and what do you do? What's your role?
I play guitar. I'm one of 3 guitarists. I also do scream vocals and harmonies.
Okay.
So I play a lot of that, bigger part in that. And I tend to do a lot of our booking and merch and whatever not, and like website, putting that up, any of our YouTube videos. I basically do all that as well. So
you're the all around guy then.
Oh yeah.
But when you're starting off, those are things that you have to do, man. When hey, listen, it gets crazy at times, but definitely. So, how much do the other guys help you with that, or is it just all you right now?
Well, the other guys do help me with it. we actually, with our new lineup that we have now, the guys collectively in this lineup actually help out a lot more than
Okay.
what the old lineup used to be. So it
Gotcha.
actually takes a little bit of weight off my shoulders, and it helps out quite a bit. And then on top of that, with our management that we have now, they do a lot for us too, and they help me out. So, we kind of have all this different people coming from different directions. So, it's a lot less stressful than it was a couple years ago.
Dude, nothing like having that team, man. Having a good, strong team is a great, great thing, man. So you all are definitely talented musicians. So what drew you to music and not to being like a scholar or sports star or just having a 9 to 5 and nothing else?
So it's a little weird, but this is how it happened.
Talk to me.
So I was probably 4th or 5th grade, and at the time there was this toy that was out. It was called Paper Jams. I don't know if you know what those are.
Paper Jams.
So they were basically like cardboard cutouts of instruments, and if you put your fingers on them and strummed it, like they played notes and whatever.
Okay, I got you.
So I mean, it was something very stupid, but like I was starting to learn songs on this toy, and and eventually it clicked with me because I got it for Christmas. So the whole time I was off from Christmas break, whatever, it clicked with me. I'm like, wait a second, my dad's got a guitar downstairs. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go grab that and see. Instead of learning it on this toy, maybe I can learn it on the real thing. So I started learning all these different songs on this instrument, and I was, when I started out playing instruments, I actually had more of a country folk influence, which is completely different than what I'm doing now.
Gotcha.
So, I was learning a lot of the country songs, and there was a couple of rock songs that I threw in there, whatever not. So I played a lot of folk, rock, whatever. And then eventually it turned into where we're at right now. But that's kind of what started it. And the combination of just being able to go out and perform, like the first band that I was with actually was an early rendition of Unbroken.
Okay.
So when we were playing and stuff, I was really enjoying it. Like I was having a lot of fun with it. And when we did more covers at the time. So we were kind of like a cover band. I think we had like 3 originals. So we were kind of just starting out. And then once I started writing music, I think that's when it hooked me.
Awesome.
Because the dynamic of writing and just making my own music is really what I like playing shows and everything, but when it comes down to it, I like to just be able to show them the music that we create and all of the minds that get put into it. And just like during COVID, I ate that up because I literally was sitting there writing the whole darn time. So, I mean, as much as it sucked not playing shows, I was still writing and I was enjoying writing. And well, that's what hooked me in the long run.
Listen, man, I love it when guests just roll into it, man. And I'm still going to ask you them questions again, but you answered a lot of questions, which is beautiful to me. I love it. I love it that you open, and that's what I want you to be. You and I were having a conversation, man. This is not an interview, man. It's like brothers talking with each other, man. And that's how I want everything. So I want you to feel as comfortable as can be. And that was great, man. I love that. Indeed. So how has being able to chase and succeed at the dream of playing music changed your life?
Well, there's a lot of things there's a lot of things already. I mean, we're not even, I wouldn't say we're like super like deep into being like full-time musicians. But it has changed a lot of different aspects of my life. Like there's certain weekends where, my buddy wants me to come do this, but I'm like, I got a show. I can't do that. Or, I miss things. And like, part of me, it's kind of like, well, if I wasn't in the band, I'd be able to do that. But then the other side of me is like, screw that. You want to be in the band, so keep going at what you're doing. So
you gotta weigh it, man. Yes, indeed. Awesome,
most
man.
definitely.
So are there a significant amount of venues? Because you were talking about how close you're kind of centralized. So are there a significant amount of venues you guys can perform in around your home base, or is it more about traveling and getting in front of as many people as possible?
So that actually, it's kind of funny with this new lineup, because post-COVID, the year after, whenever it was still questionable if we still wanted to go out and play and whatnot.
Okay.
That was the last year with the old lineup. So we played a couple shows, and like most of the shows were around here.
Right.
But getting into where I'm trying to go, last year as a band with the new lineup, we sat down and we're like, okay, what do we want to do? How do we want to do this? What's the best way of doing it?
Right.
So we made a list of venues that we wanted to play at. We made a list of locations that we wanted to try to get into, and we pursued every single one of them to the best of our ability. So like last year, between February and October, I put together and booked 35 shows.
Awesome, man. Wow.
So, and we had quite a few shows where people were asking us, and, we were getting thrown out. So like, we had a really good combination of shows, but like 35 of them is we sat down, did the work, and we got everything done. No, in Wausau, I'm just going to name them off because it'll help me count. Like in Wausau, we've got Coral Lanes, Whitewater Music Hall, which we haven't played yet because they do a lot of like softer stuff. So if they have a metal night, I'm hoping we could get in there. The Pollock Inn. Realistically, there's probably about 6 or 7 venues in Wausau that we play at, but we tend to stay at Coral Lanes because Coral Lanes is more of like a everybody friendly, family friendly type venue.
Gotcha.
Because it's fun playing at bars and everything, but sometimes it's fun because like we have a lot of family members that have, like, for me, I've got 2 younger sisters, and my parents, if we're playing at a bar, they ain't gonna come check us out with their sisters. So we tend to try to aim for Coral Lanes more or less. But as far as traveling, this year we've really put on the focus for not so much quantity, but we've been looking for more quality shows.
Okay.
So we've been getting put on. I mean, this year's been really good for us so far. I mean, we've played at the Liquid in Madison, which was an absolutely stellar venue.
Right.
We've went to 1175 in Kansasville, which we love playing down there. It's one of our favorite venues to play at. Janesville, we have the Back Bar we've been playing at. We just booked a show at the High Noon Saloon in Madison, which we've never played there, but that's one of those venues. That's our manager. He actually helped get us in there.
Right.
That's one of those venues that as individuals, we were never able to get into it. But now that we're under management,
yes,
he kind of helped us get in there. He booked one of the other bands that's under the management alongside with us. So, we got in there and, got our foot in the door through him, which we're extremely thankful for.
Awesome.
But, that's kind of like everything's been going on. The Lyric Room in Green Bay, I think we've got 2 shows lined up there. I'd have to look, but we're playing at way bigger venues, way nicer venues. And we're playing with a lot of bands that are either friends we've made over the years, and we're making new friends, like Silver Tongue. I don't know if you've heard of those guys.
Right.
They're from Pennsylvania area, and they came through here, and they told both the venues that were in Wisconsin, they're like, we want Unbroken to open. And so we got contacted from those guys and went out and played with those guys. And we love those guys. We're hoping to go out to Pennsylvania with them sometime soon here. But right now we're kind of working. We're trying to get tour ready. So we're doing at the best of our abilities. We're trying to get tour ready. And we want to be able to take that next step where as soon as our manager gives us an opportunity that's right there in our face, we can be like, okay, let's quit our jobs. we are ready for this. Let's do it.
Right. Indeed. Nah, man, it's good to see a young man so focused, man, and speaking for the rest of your band. And if all of you guys had that focus, man, you'll make it happen because it really takes that due diligence. And a lot of people think it's easier than it is, and it's work, man. And the joy is when you get on that stage and well, I'll get into that. I'm gonna ask you because you said something earlier, but I'm gonna ask you about that because I like what you said though. So it's all very interesting. I love the way this is flowing right now, man. I'm telling you. Justin is handling business, young ladies and gentlemen who are listening and paying attention. This guy right here, man, I like it. I'm feeling him right now. Feeling your vibe, young man. I'm feeling the vibe. So, as I said in the intro, I feel like you guys are go-getters. So, how has the internet and social media, in your opinion, increased your fan base beyond your live shows?
So, especially recently, we actually more recently, within the last year and a half, is when we've really started getting focused on social media. My first focus, especially last year, was I wanted to focus a lot more on Facebook. So I focused a lot more on Facebook, and like we still to this day, when we post something or like, we get some stuff out. I mean, there's obviously Facebook algorithms, they screw with us.
Right. Of
but
course.
like we've kind of learned what kind of posts we could do just to, get it out there and so people can see it. Like, for example, what we've kind of started doing this thing where before we get to a venue or when we get to a venue, we kind of do like a little group picture and we post it on there because we've learned that if we post a picture that has no context of like tagging stuff in it or like anything to do with events, we just kind of say, oh, we're here at this venue, don't tag the venue. And the next thing you know, it's getting like 80, 100 likes. So it's kind of like we're kind of finding loopholes in Facebook and, trying to work around it. And then YouTube has been a big concentration for me this year. We released a song 4 years ago called No Escape. And that song got pretty good traction. I think it's at a little over 20,000 views right now.
Right.
And every song we've released since then has been kind of a little bit less, like, as in we have, I think 6 Feet Under is like 2,000. But like it seemed like, because we had a little bit of a lull period with the old lineup. So we kind of saw, looking back at statistics, we had a lull period with the old lineup, and that's kind of, you can see it in the views. That's when we had the lull period. So with the new lineup, we actually released our first single off the album, Blood, and that one hit 1.8 K views. And then we just released Rise, which I believe yesterday it hit 4,000 views. So in the 1 year that we've been pushing with this new lineup, we went from the 1.8 to now we've got 4,000 views on a video that we just released. So, I'm been trying to focus on getting lyric videos, live videos, just trying to keep that dynamic of keeping people interested on YouTube. I mean, from our Rise release, we've actually gained over 100 subscribers just in one video.
Awesome.
So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully it keeps working.
Indeed, man. I like that, man. So are you a numbers guy? You sound like you're a numbers guy.
I mean, I try to be. I mean, like when it comes down to looking at like from month to month, I like to try to look at everything and see, what we've done different and what I've done different, and how things have been going. So it, that like kind of reverting back to the whole posting things that are a little bit more like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Not necessarily band related, if that makes sense. Right. But in the
life related type stuff.
Yeah. Cause I've noticed like those get a lot more likes and views than like, let's say I make this big post.
100%. It's crazy because you know what you're doing, but yes, that is it. And I want to say, and I apologize for cutting you off. I want to say, like, I don't know if you're on TikTok, but make sure you get on TikTok.
It's on the to-do list.
Do your thing on TikTok. Pretty hot right now because I know Sergio from used to be in the Deftones. Had a talk with him, and he was just telling me he and his wife, they were like, hey, man, you got to get on TikTok. I was on TikTok, and it was just like, I get a few here, there, whatever. And then they were like, no, you got to put you out there more. Put you out there before you put the music out there. And so, when I did that, I could see it increase. I was just like, wow, man, that's kind of crazy. And they were like, your personality is what it is. And I feel you have the same thing, man. Put yourself out there. And just like you were saying, doing other things or just showing people like, hey, we're just rehearsing or we're just doing whatever, and it works, man. So make sure and listen, as a young man, make sure you guys going out there on TikTok, man, to do your thing out there also, man.
Yeah, that TikTok's definitely on the to-do list. I've made an account for us, but we haven't done a whole lot with it. But it's on the to-do list because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, guys, we got to get. I want to get a bunch of ideas and a bunch of stupid stuff, and not only a bunch of stupid stuff, but I want to start doing. I'm working on YouTube. Like I said, I'm working on YouTube right now, so I'm getting in the habit of we're starting to like record like us screwing around, record us at the venue.
Right.
Like I'm starting to record a bunch of this behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
And on top of us recording the behind the scenes stuff, I kind of plan to intermingle that behind the scenes stuff into TikTok.
Yeah.
So when I'm posting on YouTube, I can also post on TikTok and kind of like tie them together and try to bring viewers from both sides into each other.
You got it, bro. You there, man. You keep doing what you're doing. Most definitely, man. I'm not saying I'm some professional at it, but I just seen it when somebody has told me something. And I'm older, of course. And then somebody told me something and then it works. So it's just like, oh, okay. All right. You know, I was just taking it like, oh, it's social media, man. It's whatever. But right now, you know, even with all the algorithm stuff, but it's important still. It's still important, man. So you got to kind of maneuver and work your way around. And of course, YouTube is gigantic. So you're doing it, man. That's love, man. That's love, man. So before you hit the stage, where are you mentally? Are you super focused on what's about to go down or just loose and ready to do work like this is a small thing to a giant?
Well, it kind of depends on where I'm at, kind of, if that makes sense. I get super hyper focused into it. You know, my stage persona versus who I am as a person are completely different.
Gotcha.
So when I get on stage, and I could say that's probably for all of us, we're all about the same, all five of us. But like when I get on stage, you know, I get a lot more serious, and I get a lot more like into it, if that makes sense. Like
of course.
when people see us live, I want them to be able to, like, when they listen to the lyrics, or if they know the lyrics, like I want them to, you know, like want them to look at us and be like, okay, this song means something to these guys, you know, type of a thing. Versus when we're hometown shows, when we're in front of people that have seen us multiple times, you know, that's when I'm loose. Like, hey, we're having fun. Like,
right.
You know, it's a completely different dynamic because it's like, okay, there's a bunch of people here that know us personally, have seen us before. So we have a little more fun with it. We kind of, you know, screw around with each other on stage.
Right.
But like if we're playing at a venue we've never played at before, in front of people we've never met before, in front of bands that we want to keep in our back pockets of potential people we could work with in the future.
Right.
It's definitely, you know, gloves off. Let's let it rip. So
awesome, man. So do you have those butterflies before you get that little nervous feeling before you get on stage?
It's been a long time.
Really?
I actually, you know, when I get up on stage, I get it doesn't really hit me until within probably a half hour before we go on stage. I don't necessarily get butterflies, but I get excited because, like, you know, and I'm excited.
Maybe excitement is the thing. I guess it's always like, you know, I just feel a certain way. Like it's that nervousness that, like, what's about to happen. I guess that's what I'm saying. I say butterflies, but I mean, I don't want to make it like it's something soft or anything like that. But it's just like, you know, you just get that nervous feeling because anytime right now, when I hear any of the music that, you know, we used to listen to before we go on stage, because, you know, Rich, you know, when I was in Stuck Mojo, he would always have this little playlist before we go on stage. So anytime I would hear that music, even now, I'm like, dog, man, it's my showtime. So I just feel a certain way. So that's why I really asked that question, man. Yeah, indeed. So
yeah, because
go ahead. I'm sorry.
As a band collectively, I can tell, you know, everyone, especially within that time, half hour before, it's like the dynamic of all of us change. So it's like it's all we're all getting ready to go up there. Yeah. And I want to say the last time I was probably nervous getting on stage was probably we played Summerfest in Wisconsin quite a few years ago, and I think that was probably the last time. And then we played Rockfest, but I was more excited for Rockfest than I was nervous. But the last time I would say I was 100% nervous was when we played Summerfest.
Yeah. And I say nervous, but I guess just really that energy, that unexpected, because you don't know what's going to happen. But I just know that the moment that I walk on the stage, that first step, you know, I just don't want to forget any of my lyrics. You know, that's me. That's what I'm usually focused on, like, bam. And then when I walk that first step, then I just go into truly being Lord Nelson. It's nothing else matters. You know, it's just like, it's time to entertain and have a good time, man. So yeah, that's real, man. Yes, indeed. So from your perspective, what is the most difficult part of being a musician in your genre?
So, I would say right now the most difficult part for being a musician in our genre right now, in personal experiences, is there's a lot of venues that don't want to book you because you're labeled as metal or hard rock,
Right, right, right.
because they want something a little bit softer. So like, I mean, a lot of the new stuff we're going quite a bit heavier than what we've been used to. But see, the thing is we market ourselves as hard rock.
Okay.
I mean, I realistically, I would almost label us almost new metal, maybe in the long run. But like, I've been marketing us as hard rock. So like, there's a lot of venues that we kind of like, oh, here's a band that we play with locally. They're phenomenal.
Right.
They deserve to be on that stage, but that venue won't book them because they're metal or prog metal or deathcore, you know. So it's like when we throw in the towel of hard rock in there, and with the combinations of the cleans and the screams, it's like we kind of try to do the aspect of both worlds.
Yes.
So I mean, I have to say that's probably one thing that's hard about it, and not only that, but like radio play is definitely another hard aspect of it, because there's a lot of radio stations out there that would love to play you,
right?
But it's not necessarily in their hands. It's in their corporate hands.
It's definitely not in their hands, man. It's a different world. It's a different world, man.
Yeah. And that, I'd have to say that's probably another hard part, is because you could have a song that, I mean, think about it. Like, I'm going to throw a band out there that doesn't exist anymore, but I absolutely loved listening to them when I was just starting to get into the band scene. They're from here. There's a band called Beyond Atlas that used to be from around here, and they were phenomenal. Like, to the point where if I think they would have kept up with it, they could have become a full-time touring musicians, and they probably would have been, you know, going on tours with a lot of big names by now. There's a lot of songs that they had that were, I guarantee you, if they would have been played on the radio, they would have went like boom, like for them. But it's just like that aspect of just being able to get on the radio for our genre is just so hard that it makes it hard for somebody could write the best song in the world and you would never know, because it's hidden under the mainstream media, and it's hidden under the radio stations on underground, you know, stations that are on the internet. So, you know, I have to say that's probably, in the long run, that's probably the hardest thing about our genre.
Well, I'm going to tell you, man, when you speak about radio, which is a difficult thing, but to break a song on radio, you're looking at, I'm not talking about if some DJ hears you and you get lucky. To break a song on radio, you got like a publicist and people like really getting, it's like $250,000. And it's just what it is, getting it out there and doing things. So yeah, it's crazy. Yes, you know, radio is still important. You know, we have all the internet radio stations. My brother actually owns a internet radio station, but there's you can do all of that, and even if you can get on Sirius and all those things like that, which could help you out tremendously also, because a lot of people listen to those things. But man, the regular radio, to get on that, it's like you've made it there, and it boosts you there still, because people still listen to the radio. Let's just keep it 100. People still listen to the radio, but it's hard to get on that radio, man, without that money, without that money, man, no doubt about it. But you can do it, man. I know you probably got 500K sitting around somewhere, man. Handle your business. It's all love. You can do what you do.
There's been, I mean, we've had a couple of our songs like locally that have hit the radio.
Right.
And then we've had like Green Bay. There was a place in Green Bay that was playing our songs. And then we had a radio station in Australia that was playing one of our songs for a while. And then we had one in Florida that was playing our stuff for a while. And so it's like, we've gotten on radio stations, but it's like, you know, it's usually when we're on radio stations, they have some sort of like a live, not live, but like local band feature.
Right, exactly. You know, yes, I know, 100%.
So, you know, you got to have the right person hear you for that and, you know, get you on there. So, and everyone that has reached out to us, especially recently, there's been a lot of, especially with the Rise release, since we've released it, we've had numerous, you know, online radio stations, and we've had a couple actual radio stations reach out about playing the song. So,
awesome.
You know, I'm thankful for all of them, and I'm going to keep trying to push it out there, and hopefully more people grab onto it. And we're actually working on getting the next video for the album done. It's we have a song called "Fighting Back" on the album. We have a video.
I've
We have
listened.
a video we recorded for that song, and we're
Okay.
gonna have that coming out within the next couple months here.
All
So-
right, love, most definitely. So, what has been the most rewarding moment or moments so far in your musical career?
Just seeing how far as a musician that this whole group has come.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, me and the lead singer are the only original members left.
Okay,
And we've been in Unbroken for about 7.5 years now.
got you.
Maybe a little less than that, but like 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing how him and I have grown in our writing and like how we've done things, like it's been really rewarding to see. But not only that, like we've had, a couple bad eggs that weren't working with the band or just didn't have time for us. And
Right.
like they dragged us down for the first 5 years of this band. As soon as we got rid of those guys and we threw into the new guys, we added a guitarist before we had to replace the two new guys. So that one guy's been in the band for, I think, 2.5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And the new bassist and the new drummer have been in the band for a little over a year now.
Right.
So, the oldest guy besides us is 2.5 years into the band. So, like, they're really fresh into it still. But it's been extremely rewarding for us because the reaction we used to get with the 4-piece, I mean, it was still a good reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, now with this 5-piece, we've got, in my opinion, we've got 4 guys in the front where we just let it go. Like, we move around, we have fun.
Right.
And then our drummer's got a lot more oomph behind him than our original drummer. So he kind of fits our music a little bit more. So, like, we've been seeing our reactions, crowd interaction has been way more, like, way better than it has been in the past. And
Got you.
that's the most rewarding part. Like, what, for example, we went down to Rockford a little bit ago. We've never played Rockford. We've never played Illinois. And we've never played the venue that we were at. And that place blew up after when we were playing. So it was just, that's rewarding to have
Yes,
that
sir.
reaction and the people reacting to you, because especially when they've never even heard you before. So,
Right.
but I got to say, one of the things that we don't necessarily do a lot of anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We recently played at a venue that, I mean, a lot of people would consider like a dive bar.
Uh-huh.
So, like, they don't have a stage, don't have a sound system. They're kind of a place that, just every once in a while they have bands come in to run their own sound, play whatever. And we just recently played there. And I have to say, even though we've been playing a lot more bigger venues, it still is rewarding to go play places like that because you have more of a personal interaction with these people. And we just played, like I said, 1175. We went on 1175. We played that. It's a big venue, played with bigger bands.
Mm-hmm.
And we made a couple sales and merch, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But then we go to a place like that where we're like, oh, we're not going to make that much, in merch sales. And then we make a crap ton in merch sales. It's, it's like, that's also a rewarding aspect that it says, I want to keep in the mindset just because we're getting a little bit bigger with the band. We, still got to pay our diligence and play places like that.
Yes.
Because that's where we're going to make our money as long as playing, alongside these bigger bands. Yeah, we're getting that exposure and we might not necessarily get paid directly from the venue
Right.
as much as we would want.
Mm-hmm.
But, when we play those little bars that, same people show up to it every weekend, they've never heard of you, you've got a completely different fan base that's, they're showing up at a bar. They're not showing up to see, like, for example, Gemini Syndrome. We just opened up for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a whole fan base showing up to see Gemini Syndrome.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, that this opening band blows them out of the water, but they still wanted to spend all their money on Gemini Syndrome merch versus this new band that they've heard. So, like, when we get thrown into a situation like that where, they're not coming because, oh, this band's here or that band's there, they kind of, they either just show up and they hear you and then they're like, oh, I like you guys. I've seen that there's a lot more people that are willing to spend money that way than when we're at these bigger venues, which
of course. And man, you said so many beautiful things right then. There's nothing like playing an intimate show and having the
Mhm.
people right there where you can touch them and they can touch you, and it's just a good vibe. And I always say, if you play a terrible venue, a small, terrible venue, I'm going to say what I usually say. If you're playing a shitty small venue, it's a shitty small venue if there's nobody in there. But if that shitty small venue is packed with people, it becomes one of the greatest things that there is, because it's just an energy transference that is just different. So you are right. And then, yes, they're there to see you, and they can purchase your merch there, because they're now, just like you said with Gemini Syndrome, here it is, you're playing with them. So they've got a certain amount of money. Like, I love Unbroken, but damn, am I going to buy that Unbroken t-shirt, or am I going to buy that? You know what I'm saying? And that's the decision that they have to make. So you're 100% on point with it, man. And but that just I agree with you, man. I got goosebumps when you were saying that about playing those intimate clubs, man, because I always like playing them. I just think they're cool as can be, man. So hey, man, that was great, man. I like that, man. This guy right here, man. Listen, man, my perspective of this guy right here is amazing. It's a great thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how do you approach songwriting? Is it the entire band, or one or two of you with the best ideas for the music and lyrics?
So up until this point, the current stuff we're working on, still is a big part of this. But up until this point, I've been the main songwriter of everything that we've done. So basically what happens is I write a guitar part. I go record it myself, and I do a bunch of like MIDI drums just because it's a little easier than just trying to mic up a drum set.
Of course.
And then guitar, and bass. I kind of put everything all on the line in an idea, and then I go, "Hey guys, what do you think of this?" You know, and so, some of the stuff gets turned down. Some of the stuff I personally are like, they say, "Yeah, that's awesome," and then I'm like, we can do better." And so up until this point, that's all. So like the whole first EP, our demo was written completely by me, and Van is our lead singer. Him and I did all the vocals. So him and I always have a part in vocals. So up until this point, vocal wise, it's been always me and him, but like instrumentally, it's been a big chunk of me. Like drummer has a big aspect in it, because like usually when I throw a beat down, I'm like just throwing a beat down, and then I turn around and say, do something. Right. Because I'm not necessarily writing the drums to be what I want them to be. I'm just putting it down to make, here's a demo of something I'm working on. I put the drums in there, so it's not just stringed instruments making noise, and I just to kind of add a little more oomph to it. So like right now, we just released the album last year, first full length. So now with the new lineup, because that was the last release of the old lineup.
Where Rise was?
Yep. So even though we released it with the new lineup, it was the last thing that as the old lineup that we've done. So with the new lineup, we've been doing a lot more of, we'll try to collectively write. We've collectively written, I want to say 3 ideas right now, because we didn't really write at all this last summer. We was just show. Right. And, like this whole first part of this year, we've been kind of like focusing on writing, because we're not in a rush to get writing done, because we just released a full-length album. We're currently working on recording this last weekend. We went and recorded an acoustic version of our song Trapped Inside My Head. And we're trying to do something completely different than what you normally hear when it comes to an acoustic song. Well, I'll get back into that. But with the writing, we've been, we all sit down collectively as a group now, especially if I've written all the instruments, and we all 5 of us are working on lyrics. If we want to restructure the song, then we're all 5 of us are there to restructure the song. If I sit down and say, okay, guys, here's the idea for the first verse, I think we should try to do something different on the second verse, because like there's, for example, the song that I'm specifically talking about. It's got a really groovy, has a groove in the first verse, but then there's like this little post chorus that gets super heavy. And then I want it to slam back into some sort of a heavy verse, because I'm gonna scream in the post chorus, and then I'm gonna turn around and I want to do a verse where I'm screaming. So I want to change the energy and how it feels in the second verse from the first verse. So like then I throw that out there like, okay, here's the idea. What do you guys think we should do here? And then, we go from there.
I got you. Nah, man, listen. That's awesome, man. You're a producer, sir. That's what you are, man. You're producing and handling your business, man. That's love, man. That's love, man. So going back to kind of what you talked about a little bit before, do you enjoy the creative process of making music or the performance part more?
I mean, both of them have their, their good things about them, but like realistically, at the end of the day, I like producing the music a little bit more because I get a little more excited about when I'm sitting there writing something and it all comes together and it just sounds absolutely insane. Because I just love, I mean, for people that don't play in bands, they don't even write the way that I write, or the way we write as a band. So when I lay down these ideas, and I have, because like our studio guy loves us because I make his job super easy. Wow. So for the whole album, I recorded the whole album myself prior to going to him. So when I sent him the demos, they were full vocal demos. They had all the guitars in them, drums in them. They had everything in them. So I'm like, okay, here's the songs. So here's our songs. This is kind of what we want to do. And I always tell him, you have other ideas, always throw them at us. Cause I'm always, he's the producer and I have a really good relationship with our producer. Right. So I always tell him, like, if you have an idea that you think is going to make this song better, that, you necessarily we wouldn't have thought of, throw it at us.
Yes.
Because if there's because one thing that has changed the dynamic of how I write is the very first producer we worked with when we recorded No Escape, he actually changed a couple guitar parts in that song because he wanted the chords to sound a little more full compared to how I was playing them.
Okay.
So the interaction between me and him that day changed the dynamic from that point on of how I wrote all of my music from that point on.
Yeah.
So like that changed a lot. Same thing with the guy we work with. His name is David. There's certain things that he showed me and certain things that I like, cause he's really good at guitar. So he just knows his scales and he knows all this other stuff. So he's like completely knows what he's doing the whole time. And so like there's times where I'm like, I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it. And, helps me work it out. So I've learned a lot from him that way, which also in return has helped me change the way I write. So now when I have that with the creative ability to sit there and do all this myself, especially when I'm recording, I mean, there's times where I'll start recording a song and it'll be 6.5 hours later. Doesn't matter what time I started. I don't stop until I'm done. Now, when it comes to playing a show, I enjoy playing shows a lot. And I guarantee you, once we start playing bigger shows, I'll enjoy them even more. But sometimes playing a show doesn't always have the reward writing a song does, because you could go and play a show with 3 people at it, and you're kind of like, okay, this is just a practice, really. Like that, you don't have that energy that you always feel. Or you could go play a show where there's 300 people at it, and you're like, oh, this is fucking great. I'm having so much fun. Like you're just like you're into it. But when it comes to writing music, I mean, you have your frustrations when you're writing music, but most of the time I have a lot less frustrations writing music, and I get more excited about the music I'm writing.
Yeah. Well, you're creative, man. That's what it's. I get it, man. No doubt about it, man. And I wanted to say something. I just thought about it again. I don't care what ideas that you have, no matter where you put them down. If it's on your phone, like I've got on my iPhone, and even on my old iPhone, I have so many ideas. And even on my new iPhone, when I get ideas and I just pop them, boom, melodies or whatever like that, man, keep them all, man. Don't throw anything away. I don't know if you do or not, but I know you're saying like, no, keep everything you have, because you could come back to some of that stuff, and what you might not think is great ends up being the great thing, no doubt.
Well, a lot of times what happens is a whole lot of stuff that I've written, and let's say I write a song, Blood, the song Blood, for instance, there's 2 guitar parts in Blood that were actually stolen from an older song that I wrote, and I did not like. So like that song, I wrote something different, And I'm like, man, I can't figure this out. And all of a sudden I go click. I'm like, I've got a part that would work for this that I have not used. And so that I'll take, parts for both of these ideas and then I'll make something of it.
Right. Indeed.
So I've got a computer that I have currently, my old computer. I've got so many recordings on that computer. And the only reason why I hold on to that computer is because I've got so many darn recordings onto it.
Yes,
and if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for those recordings, I would have gotten rid of it by now.
I got you, man. Indeed. I know my son, he does music also, and he's got to get all this stuff off my iMac, man. I had this iMac, it's just supposed to be for me. Nobody else on here but my music. But he's got a lot of dope stuff on here. Anyway, so when this is a question I really want to ask also, because you talked about it earlier, and I've talked about it in the last few interviews about band members and how bands just have that turnover. It's just crazy to me how, but I guess what I've learned is that it's whatever that energy is, moving those other entities out for the right entities to be there so you can be the most successful. So when it comes to your band, what is the key to staying together through thick and thin right now as you see it?
Well, I'm going to kind of revert back to why we are where we are right now. So prior to this, we had a drummer that he went to school, to college. He went to Madison. Okay. Madison's 2.5 hours away, or 2 hours away. So, when he went to college, it kind of screwed us a little bit. I mean, in the sense of he wasn't able to practice a lot.
Right.
And then on top of it, it turned into he wasn't able to play a lot of shows.
Right.
So our bassist at the time would take over, and he would play drums for any of the shows that our drummer couldn't play, because he also played drums.
Right.
So, we had that dynamic for a while, and eventually what it came down to is our drummer wasn't able to play a lot, and Van and I wanted to play a lot more, and our bassist at the time had a really crappy work schedule, and so he wasn't able to play as much as we wanted, and he also didn't want to play as much as we wanted.
Right.
So when we hired our new guitarist, we knew this when we hired him, and we're still, especially now, he straight out told us if we ever got to the point where we're going to do touring, that he's going to back off, because he doesn't want to do touring. He still wants to be in the band, and he's still a big contributing factor to us.
Right.
But when it comes to the touring aspect of it, he doesn't want to tour. So in the long run, we know that that's a thing. And the touring aspect of it for us is probably within the next year, we're going to start going out on tours. So it's something that is going to happen when we get to it, and we have to understand, there's one way where we could go where, the current lineup gets along really well, and we all have fun with each other. The last lineup was constant bickering. Anything that I would do, my bassist would get mad about it or said it wasn't not right. And then if it wasn't his way, it wasn't right. So I had that constantly working against me. And, when he's doing that, all the bickering, and then our lead singer was starting to want to not be in the band because he would constantly bicker with me. So it was just constant negative weighing all of us down. So when we got rid of him and replaced him with our current guy, and then when we still haven't really technically got rid of our original drummer. It just kind of
time. I got you.
Yeah. So we have this new drummer. I mean, he's our obviously full-time member of the band. Yeah. So nonchalantly, our original drummer is no longer in the band.
You're out of the band, bro.
But it never was oh, I quit, or we're not working with you anymore type of
still
thing.
Got love for him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But that's, and obviously with this band, especially with as many shows as our new lineup went into the first year, we had our big moments where we had fights and stuff. You're always going to have that no matter what. But at the end of the day, when we get together and we work on stuff, it's a completely different dynamic. So it just, it continues to work. And like I said, one of our other guitarists currently, if, at the end of the day, if we start touring more and he can't do it, we might have to get rid of him and replace him.
Hey, real
but
talk.
and that's just is what it is. But when we get rid of him, it's not going to be nothing negative. It's just one of those things going into it, especially with where we're from. It's hard for us to find a guitarist in this area that we jive with.
Right.
And he played in a band that we played with a lot. So like we were good friends with that whole band. So we knew we already had that, personal relationship. So we knew we were going to get along and things were going to go good. So like, when we asked him and he said that was a stipulation, I'm sitting here, I was thinking, well, I'm not worried about that. We've been a band for 5 years and we still haven't toured. When we would have hired him and you would have asked me if I would have thought we would potentially be touring in 3 years, I would have laughed at you, just because of the whole dynamic of the band.
Yes.
Now that we're at where we're at, where we're getting through the management, we've had like 5 or 6 tours thrown at us.
Yeah.
And right now we're getting to the point where we're on the bottom end of the totem pole, if that makes sense. So like when we get a tour thrown at us, we might put our foot in to try to get on it, but we might not get chosen for the tour type of thing.
You. I understand.
And then there's been like 2 or 3 buy-on tours we've been thrown at, and we want to do them. Like, it's not that we don't want to do them. It's just right now, our big plan right now is we're ordering merch. We're trying to stock up in merch because I'm not going to say the band name. We got asked to go on tour with the band that I'm not going to name because we still haven't decided if we're going to do it or not. So I don't want to give up too much away.
No, I got you.
And, we got the buy-on costs and what everything was. And the problem with that buy-on show is it would be basically merch hustle for us because it's, the buy-on and the venue wouldn't be giving us anything for that. So,
right.
In today's day and age, like, there's a lot of bands that if you want to play with them, that's how it's going to go, type of thing.
Real talk.
So that's why right now we're probably not, like, we're leaning more towards we're not going to do it because right now I'm in the mind of let's order shirts, let's order merch. And when we order these shirts, let's leave them in the box, put them on the side. And when we have an X amount of shirts that we have in our back pocket, then we'll start bringing them out. Like, let's say we have 5 designs that we want to order currently, and we have one of them on the way. And when we get them, don't even show them to the people, don't even show them to the public, just put them off to the side. So then when we get that tour offer that comes down the road where it's just a merch hustle, we could have 250 shirts in our back pocket and just go, first time anyone sees it is when we go on that tour.
Yeah.
So then we want to make sure we have the inventory to when we go on tour that, we aren't going to go out there and we don't have a full inventory and not make our money back versus go in swinging and we have all this new merch that no one has seen and, try to push on it from there.
Okay. I got you. No, it's got to be feasible. I mean, it has to work for you. It has to make sense. Especially now, and I could just, from our conversation, I could just see where you're focused on doing the things how you want to do them, man. And listen, just like with music, is there any game plan out there to how it's supposed to be? I mean, we all can give you advice about how it should be, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you or it's going to work for me or whatever like that. So I just, encourage you and to keep doing what you do and what you feel is right and proper and handle your business, man. It's your career, it's your life. It's, so whether it's, we want all wins, but whether you win or you fail, it's all life lessons. You're learning and seeing what's going on, man. So yeah, you just,
most definitely.
Yeah, just continue to keep pushing and doing your thing, man, doing your thing. So in your mind, what is the pinnacle of success for Unbroken?
Right now, I feel like the pinnacle of success for us right now is we just need to get ourselves out there.
Okay.
Especially with this last year, we've, everywhere that we have put ourselves out there, we've had success. And I think if we, continue to play the shows or, local shows and, maybe because like I said, the Wausau scene for music isn't the best. Right. And the Wisconsin scene compared to the states around us isn't really the best. Like Illinois versus Wisconsin, Illinois got a better scene. Minnesota versus Wisconsin, Minnesota's like every state around us has a better scene than we do.
Gotcha.
And I think our biggest thing is we just need to keep writing music, putting it in our back pocket, and keep trying to push ourselves out there as much as we can.
All right, gotcha.
And I think in the long run it could help us. So
okay, yeah, you got, and listen, you got a plan, man. That's what matters, man. You got a plan. So okay, let's talk about your releases. So tell us about the single "No Escape" in 2018.
So No Escape, actually, it's kind of funny. That song was written accidentally. Me and the drummer, we were just screwing around, and a lot of the things what I used to do, and I still do it now, not necessarily when we're in the band setting anymore, because usually when we're playing and we come across the riff, we instantly start writing it and working on it.
Right.
Back in the day, I would record a lot of our sessions, because then I would sit there and I'd listen for parts that I liked and potentially could use in future music. And No Escape, like I said, it was written accidentally. It was just something that me and my drummer, we jammed it, and we're like, okay, we need to write something like this. And then we sat down, me and Van sat down, wrote the lyrics for it.
Yeah.
And we got it, that we decided that would be our first song that we would professionally record in the studio. Because I mean, I want to say we had 8 or 9 songs at the point. Sorry. And so we had like 8 or 9 songs at the point, and we wanted to release something professionally, get a music video done for it. And that was the song that we chose. And honestly, still to this day, it's kind of a bigger staple for us, because a lot of our new fans, they somewhat have heard it before, or like especially existing fans. It's one of those songs where we've heard it enough that we're like, every time we play it, we're kind of like, about it. But like, if the people react good enough to it, it makes it fun.
Of course.
So, but that release kind of was the first time where we kind of realized, like, okay, you know, I saw that and I saw the numbers we were getting from that. I'm like, okay, this is, you know, we could, if we keep writing stuff like this, when you get better musician wise, we could potentially do this as a career. So then that's why we kept writing more music, recording more music, and the whole No Escape release, like the whole EP that we have, honestly, besides the Rise album, I still think to this day it's our collectively as music, it is our strongest release. And you know, we're constantly working to try to beat that. And going back to the whole numbers thing, up until we released the music video for Rise, no matter what we released, No Escape was always our #1 song on Spotify, always our #1 song on Apple Music, always our #1 song on everything.
Right.
And then when we released Rise, now No Escape might have more streams than Rise, because I mean it's been out way longer.
Yeah.
But since we released that music video and we pushed the crap out of it, Rise has been #1 since then.
Gotcha.
So, you know, it's kind of cool to see, like, okay, maybe we're going to write something that might release something that people like that might overtake it. And, you know, but No Escape will always be our baby. It'll be the first song we released. So
I got you. I feel you there. So the single, When Will This End? I'm feeling the song. I like that, man. I like that. I really do. I like it a lot. So what's up with that?
So When Will This End? We originally, when we wrote that song, it was kind of one of those parts where Van was going through a pretty depressing state of his life. I'm not going to get too many details.
No, I got you. Yeah.
But so when we wrote that song, we wanted it to be something where like people could relate to. Obviously, it was more sad and it had a little bit slower of a pace. It was acoustic originally, and so when we wrote that song, it was just, you know, kind of one of those things that something that was going on in our lives. Part of the reason why we did it acoustic is because that was kind of right before COVID, and it was right before the dynamic of our drummer didn't have a lot of time. Our bassist didn't have a lot of time. So we wanted to put something out, but like it was hard to try to get something out because schedules were constantly conflicting.
Gotcha.
So we went and recorded the acoustic version of the song and we released it. And to this day, I mean, what we pull that up when we play at bigger venues when we're opening for people, we usually don't pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're playing at venues that we've played at before or with crowds, that's one of those songs where we can pull out of our pocket. And, I mean, people sing along with that song.
Like reaction, yes, indeed.
And it's cool because, as being in a band that you're always like, we should do this, we should do that, like we should write something a little heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're always in the dynamic of we want to write heavier, we want to have something that's got a lot of energy to it. Right. So it was really cool to turn around and release something that to this day still, we get positive reactions to it, people sing it, and it's it's a completely different dynamic of what we normally release. So it's kind of cool. It's still cool to have that song in our back pockets.
Definitely. It can touch you, just like you say, when you get personal like that and people can relate to songs like that, it really moves people, man. So yeah, it's a really good song. So single Black Lines. What's up with that?
Black Lines is actually the first song that we actually released.
Okay.
Or written, I shouldn't say released. The whole Black Lines album is collectively, it is songs that we actually were holding on to in our back pocket before COVID. Mm-hmm. The whole idea behind the Black Lines EP was, or the songs that were on it, we were working on trying to write an album.
Right.
And the album that we wrote was originally supposed to be recorded in 2020 of May. Mm-hmm. So that's right when COVID hit and everything got shut down. So we actually had to postpone a full year before we could record the album.
Right.
So while we were holding on to this music, I said, screw it. Let's take it, and we've got these 5 songs. Let's release it as an EP. So then we're at least putting something out there versus holding on to these songs for another 2-3 years at the time.
Right.
And I'm like, and then we had COVID. The whole time during COVID, we wrote a bunch of music. Mm-hmm. I had a bunch of stuff in my back pocket. So Black Lines was more of like what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say like an accidental release, but it's kind of along the lines of what I want to say. It was an unintentional release. We'll go with that.
Okay.
So it would have never happened if it wasn't for COVID.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
But that album though, it kind of, I do like that EP because it kind of like, I'm thinking of another word. It kind of like shows the classic rock bluesy aspect of our band. Mm-hmm. Like every song on that EP, Regrets Remembered's really, really classic rock bluesy. Ashtray is another one that like classic rock bluesy, and then Black Lines has the same vibes. So that EP kind of has that classic rock bluesy vibes to it with the 2 acoustic songs. So I mean, it kind of showcased that aspect of us, which I would like to do more of in the future, especially with some of the stuff that we're working on now, which we do have some heavier bluesy stuff we're writing, and then we still have the more of the new metal, or like then we have one that's like a little more of a metalcore sounding. So like it's one of those EPs we released that's like, this is a completely different dynamic of us.
Right.
And
that's awesome, man. So you spoke about it a little bit earlier. So Blood.
So Blood was one of the first songs that I released. Well, not released. I wrote for the Rise album.
Okay.
That song, actually, we rewrote the lyrics for that song probably 4 or 5 times because we we just couldn't get the melody right. We didn't like the way it flowed. But Blood, I want to say, is a staple for us, especially because it showcased the new direction of the band.
Okay.
And where we were trying to go. Because if you look at anything that was released for Blood, it was, like that little bit of a softer, groovy rock with, some heavy aspects to it. And Blood was kind of our first take on something heavier.
Gotcha.
And so when I put Blood together, that song, it's about basically brotherhood in the long run. You have, as a band, as our band, we were a brotherhood, and we've got each other's backs. So that song was about getting stabbed in the back, somebody trying to screw somebody over, somebody that you're close with, and it's basically like, hey, you screw with us, we'll screw with you. It's basically what the general message of the song was. But from Blood, that produced into the rest of the EP, the rest of the album that we had for Rise. And, we still managed and still kind of had, like, the first song on the EP is, the album was like super heavy, and it had, has some nice feel to it. It's a slower heavy, but it's still nice. And then we go to Rise, which is fairly, quick. It's got a little bit faster beat to it, and it's got a little bit more of I'm trying to think what the word is, it's got more of like a damn, the word was there, I lost it. But then it goes into Trapped Inside My Head, which then went from, you got Fighting Back, and then you got Rise, and then Trapped Inside My Head. It's like we took a step back.
Yeah, you pull it back a little bit. That's good though. That's good.
And so then when we got to that song, we brought it back a little bit, and then that's when Blood, we put it after that. And then Footsteps was one of those songs where it's, it was a heavy song. I'm like, let's slap that after Blood.
Right.
And then I think we, after that, if I remember correctly, that's when we brought When Will They Send back. And we originally wanted to release the full version of When Will They Send as a single because of how well the acoustic song was doing and how well people liked it.
Right.
But it eventually ended up on the album. And, we brought, and then Take Me, I'll be straight up. We don't really like that song, so we don't really play that song. Like, we like the song at the time.
I was about to say you don't like it, man. You did it, so embrace everything you do, man. Come on, man.
But it's something complete. I don't know if you've heard it.
Yeah,
but it's something. It was something completely different for us.
Okay,
and that's why I kind of threw it in the middle, is because I'm like, I want to throw a curveball at these guys, like. And that song, I still do like the song, but it's one of those songs that it's like, recording wise, I like it. I don't like playing it live though.
Okay.
And then Home is like, Home was on the album, was a big part of it was, well, our drummer's mom died in a car accident. And it was kind of like the aspect of like, we thought about it like, spiritually, obviously as a band, everyone's like, I'll be honest with you, we have everything from atheists to full blown, religion in this band. There's a lot of diversity in this band.
Got you.
And that's what also kind of like makes us a little bit different, is because we all work together, even though one guy might say, fuck you when it comes to that idea. But then the other guy's like, well, there's this.
Yeah.
So when we wrote that song, we actually wrote that song more or less for their family.
Gotcha.
And, we thought about how when you listen to, like, especially when it comes to spiritual things, they always say that if somebody dies in a way that they don't know how they died, they have a hard time, moving on to in the next. So that song was kind of like, a calling song, if that makes sense, where we're like directly, some of the lyrics were directed towards his mom, like, and like trying to bring her home and whatever. And we actually are currently working on another song that somewhat relates to that, but it's a little bit more of a different dynamic, and it's kind of more or less about the fear of somebody dying that you're close to, that you never got to say goodbye to. It's kind of like the whole idea of that song. So, and then to finish up the album, I think was Tell Your Tale. And that, that's kind of like our, kind of that hints back at of how we used to write, like how things were and how the dynamic was when we were writing the earlier songs. And, we just kind of felt like we wanted to fill the whole spectrum of diversity in this album.
Gotcha.
And I feel like, this is obviously my opinion and I'm in the band, but I feel like this album, it has, like, when you listen to the album from beginning to the end, every song has something completely different going on, and it's completely almost like a different genre every single time you hear a different song. So it just really shows the different dynamics that we can write as this band.
I respect that, man. Listen, once again, I love how you saw where I was going. See, subconsciously, you knew where I was rolling to, and you rolled right into it, man. It just listen. I'm telling you, man, I love when it happens, man. Free flowing and you speaking and being authentic and just letting it go, man. And that's a beautiful thing. So I don't even have to ask you that, man. It's all beautiful. So we'll get close to ending this, young man. So what can your fans expect from Unbroken in the near future?
So in the near future, we have a single that we recorded. It is actually the first of many that we plan on recording. So we're working on like 3 different things at the current moment. It's kind of hard to explain. So right now we're still pushing the Rise album. We're recording videos for the Rise album. So we have that we're working on. As alongside of pushing the Rise album, we actually recently this last weekend decided to record. We wanted to record an acoustic song, an acoustic version of a song off the album, just kind of have a different dynamic of the song.
Right.
But it actually turned into we're going to actually write a full EP featuring 5 songs off of the album. And we're going to throw in a new song on that EP that's also going to be acoustic, which honestly, we're excited about that EP because it's not like the When Will This End acoustic song. And it's not like your traditional acoustic song. There's actually, this is funny, and our producer laughed when I said this to him. There is more production in our acoustic version of Trapped Inside My Head than there was in the original version of Trapped Inside My Head. Yes. So we still have drums in it. We still have the bass in it, but all the guitars are recorded acoustic. Vocals have been, any of the scream vocals were re-recorded to actual melodies. And we added a ton of harmonies, and we also added a bunch of MIDI stuff in it, like strings and whatnot. Right. So like it's the same song, but it's a completely different dynamic. And we're going to do that for the other 4 songs off the album that we chose. And we're going to do that for the last song that we're going to record. So like we're doing a completely different take on what an acoustic version of a song should sound like. So it's, it's like a full blown acoustic version with more production that originally went into the original song. So
I got you, but that's go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're pretty excited about it because, I can't off the top of my head, I can't really think of anyone else that has done or has been doing what we plan on doing with this release. So I'm excited to see what the reaction is.
Yeah, man. I just think that you putting all those other like strings or whatever you guys are putting in there is going to complement it, and really because of what the song is and what it means. You're going to put even more emotional stuff to where people can just get there and just feel it, man, because there's nothing like vibing to something or really feeling a song. And so I always say the music gets people and the lyrics keep them. So if you got something that's just touching them musically and then those lyrics just, man, hey, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Well, the biggest thing that I wanted to do is I wanted the listener and to have a different experience with the song.
Right.
So if a true fan, let's say we have somebody that's, follows us to a T, everyone, let's say this specific person, because I know there is a couple that, know all of our songs, know the lyrics for all of our songs. Right. Because they show up to a crap ton of our shows. But for someone like that is what this kind of targets, if that makes sense. Because the first version of Trapped Inside My Head, it has this specific emotion, and it has a certain way of doing things. But when with this release, compared to like When Will It Ascend, for example, When Will It Ascend, the acoustic version sounds very similar to what the full version sounds like. They're just acoustic versus non-acoustic. So that's why with this way of what we're trying to do here, that's why we're trying to do something completely different, because we want somebody that, like, it's the same song, but we want it to be like a completely different roller coaster ride, if that makes sense.
Yes, indeed.
So
I understand. Yeah.
So it's going to be the same song that they love and know, but it's going to be completely different. And the goal is to hook people as early as we can into these songs, so they're like, "Oh, this is completely different."
Right.
So, and then, like I said, we're working on that single that we have. It's the full, we changed tunings with this new album that we're working on. So it's going to be our first take at going a little lower, which, makes us naturally sound a little heavier.
Gotcha.
And with that new album that we're working on, that EP is actually another like stepping stone that allows us to have even more time on this new album we're working on. We're actually going down to Nashville at the end of the month here.
Right.
We're gonna be recording with a producer by the name of Malcolm Springer, and we're actually going to be featuring Scotty Austin, the ex-lead singer of Saving Abel, on the song.
Yeah.
So we're going to be going down there and recording that. That's going to be one of those singles that we probably, Scott, from the sounds of it, we're probably going to release it not with the album, but it's going to end up on the album, if that makes sense.
Yes, I understand.
So, we've got the album in the works. We've got this acoustic EP in the works. We've got more videos coming out for Rise in the works. We've got, we're working on more shows. It's nonstop right now. So
that's good. That's what it's supposed to be, man. You want to stay busy, man. Indeed, man. Hey, man, I love it, man. So the last question I'm going to ask you, bro, is what was the last song you listened to?
My last song that I listened to?
What is the last song you listened to? I don't care. Whatever you listen to.
Hold on. I blanked on the name. Put me on the spot.
Weird Al Yankovic.
No. Hold on. It's by Bring Me the Horizon.
I love it because every time I ask, this is my question. I love asking people, and it catches people off guard, man. And that's a beautiful thing to me.
So the last song that I listened to was Shadow Moses by Bring Me the Horizon.
Shadow Moses, bring me the horizon, you said?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Right. Shadow Moses, Bring Me the Horizon. And see, sometimes when people, I want to know what they're listening to, because I will take the time to go and listen. Say like, okay, this is what they're listening to. Okay, love. Indeed, man. So listen, man, I appreciate you definitely. This has been a good time and a great conversation. Not just a good conversation, a great conversation. I appreciate you, man. So before we get out of here, please give my listeners your contact and your social media information.
So I'm Justin from Unbroken. You can contact me via the page. So it's on -broken. I don't know if you can see it on my arm.
Yes, it is.
It's on -broken. I think you can find us on Instagram. I think it's Unbroken Wisconsin Official. YouTube is Unbroken. Soon to be here, it's going to be TikTok, which will be Unbroken Wisconsin Official.
Right.
Any of those. And then eventually I'm trying to get the website back up because I completely forgot about that. I switched cards. So when the payment was supposed to come out, it actually didn't come out.
I understand.
So I got to get that back up and running. And, but eventually I'll have the website back up, which is Unbroken Wisconsin Official as well. So with Unbroken WI Official, and Spotify, all that stuff. And especially when it comes to other bands and musicians, don't feel free to message us because we love to put shows together with other bands, and we love bringing new bands to the area.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Ready to do work. Well, once again, young man, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. I'm thankful and grateful. Even to your atheist friends, I'm thankful and grateful. Prayers to you. I'm just clowning with it, man. Yo, really tell them all I said hello, man. And anytime you guys want to come back, you got something new, or you just want to have conversation about anything, man, just let me know. We're family.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
come on in, man, and it's all love, man. Most definitely, 100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is yours truly, the big guy with the big show. Yeah, the Lord Nelson, that is, from the podcast Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS network with 5 Royals Entertainment. And once again, I'd like to thank our special guest, Justin, from Unbroken. Clap him up, ladies and gentlemen. Clap him up. Yes, indeed, man. Thanks a lot, bro.
Thanks again for having me, man.
Yes, indeed. Really appreciate you, man.
Turn it up. You're listening to Live and Loud with the Lord Nelson, that is.